now we're going to go towards the miners, right? The miners that are in NASDAQ, right? So the first one we're going to is Marathon. Thing is I don't know exactly what each of these mine. What is their main mining operation? So that's one thing I don't know. It looks like this one was Bitcoin for at least the first half of the year, and Bitcoin again, because it looks like it hit the high right around when Bitcoin hit its last high. Marathon Digital, great company to be in. It's looking like there's two equal lows down here though, right? And it's looking like it's probably going to come back down, get below these equal lows, right? Since we're still in this pullback mode, and then hit. And these are all areas that I have marked that have some kind of gap in them. And this is what I was afraid it was going to do, was fall back into these areas to where there was a gap and try to fill these gaps. Because 95% of all gaps are filled. So watch Marathon pull back into these gaps. And if it does, that means your crypto is also going to be pulling back. It's just, it's not that it's not mining it or anything. It's just that crypto and these mining companies go hand in hand whenever it comes to price action. As well as, Bitcoin also follows the dollar. It's almost the opposite of the dollar as well. But if we were to compare this, right, and compare it to Bitcoin, it would look something similar. Here they have an earnings call at this time. Here they have an earnings call. It looks like they've more than what they were expecting. Here they have an earnings call. They were less than what they were expecting. Here they have another earnings call, and they have more than what they're expecting. So they've been back and forth each quarter, which is what you kind of expect, or at least I would hope you expect that's what you need to, especially be to be balanced, right? You don't want to be all red quarters. You don't want to be all green quarters. Well, yeah, you'd love to be all green quarters, but in the real world, it would be balanced. You'd have a red, a green, a red, a green. Either way, yeah, I still think it's coming back down here. Going to try to fill these gaps. As you can see with Bitcoin, I mean, it has almost followed Bitcoin to a T again. And now I think it's probably going to fall back down and fill these gaps, which is unfortunate for Bitcoin, because I think Bitcoin probably could be looking at getting below this one area here as well. Then after that, it's like I said, it still could take another 6 to 8 weeks before we get out of this funk. And then once we do, boom, we're heading back up. We're going back the other way. But as of right now, this is what we're looking at with Marathon anyway. Now, next up is Riot. Same thing. I don't know what their mining operation is. I don't know what they're big in, what they're big on. But this kind of looks like, I mean, it looks like Can's chart almost, except for it's a little bit more optimistic. It does have some equal lows here, and it looks like it's a punch down into those lows. And there's a very, very, very very small gap right here at $11.32. So I'm eyeing that. I'm eyeing that gap to see if it's actually going to pull back all the way back down into that gap or not. Now I put my Fibonacci here. And the reason I did that was because you had this high, low, and you had the run up, and so that's I've always been taught to put my Fibonacci's at these areas right here where you have, a low area and then the run up, not just like way back here and then, it does this whatever. But that could be it. But let me also double click on this and try to flip it. So yeah, as it comes out and it comes down, it probably hits the 68% here. It jumps back up in. Now we're back up into the premium. Sells off. Goes back down into the discount area. Jumps back up into the premium. Sells back off into the discount. And that's where we're at now, is that we're at the discount area. But it's still, I think, and it pulls up almost to about 50%. And then pulls back again, and now we're just kind of in this dealing range right here. And then it pulled down and pulled back up. I guarantee you, if we pulled another Fibonacci, And on this one, I need to flip that. It probably pulls up to about this, the almost the 80%, I think. At least 61%. Yep, right up in that area. The high here is not the 41.8. It does get to 40.95 though, so there's a little bit of a gap there that is left for it to come back and try to hunt down. So again, that's part of that imbalance that I'm talking about that price likes to fill. It hasn't filled it yet. It's almost filled it, but it hasn't filled it completely. It's going to want to, but it's going after something else first. It's going after this liquidity down here, it looks like, right? It's already taken out this liquidity down here. I don't know if it looks like it's close enough to being equal to this guy right here that it could want to punch through this and punch through this and then pull back up. That would make sense since that's what everything else looks like it's wanting to do. And it may even get below here because now that we have it flipped around and we have basically everything lined up the way it needs to be, look at the confluence on this. Me to move that. The confluence on that right there, that being the 100% of the chart from whenever it pulled back up. So this would be 2x of that going down and it being right at the bottom of or at the beginning of the chart. So I wouldn't doubt if it does try to push down into that area and then come back out. So with Riot, I maybe expect it to get down to about $15-16, maybe even 14, who knows. Maybe even 1132. Like I said, there's a gap down here. So watch out for that as well. When I say gap, I mean that there's wicks that don't touch. Hold on, watch. Look. Boom. There's wicks that do not touch. Even though just before it there is that body there, doesn't matter. Now that it's on the opposite side, those wicks have not touched. If not, I would again at least expect it to get down to this confluenced area right here, right around $16-17, somewhere around in there. That being said, now we're going to go through some smaller mining companies. All right, so this is SDIG, Stronghold Digital. They just now came out not too long ago over the summer or in October, right when things were starting to pick up. After that, boom, started going back down. So not too much can be said for them just because they are pretty new. But keep an eye out for this one just because it is a good mining company. And I think, it just got started at the wrong time. I don't know, don't know why you'd start, right at the peak of a season. It is what it is, and hopefully it will eventually start flourishing. Now, what's interesting is that the next one that I have, which is Argo Blockchain, has something similar. It started a little bit earlier this year, probably a little bit before Stronghold. It had some time to actually go through the October goodness that we had, and then now it's on its pullback. But at the end of the day, on Friday, it had a huge run up, and SDIG didn't. SDIG fell. So there's something odd about that, and that's basically enough about Argo Blockchain. And the same thing with the next one, Iris Energy. It also did a pull up at the last day. Now this one's even newer than Stronghold. So this is another one that you need to be watching. There's also one more I forgot, and that's Hut. Hut has been one of my favorites. I got in at somewhere around $6 on this thing. I remember getting out at around 11 something at one point, and I bought a lot too. And then I just recently got back in because I saw that it is getting close to these equal lows. I think it's probably going to punch through these equal lows and then maybe not do much after that. Probably run sideways for a little bit until we get going again back in March or April. Hut's been doing good. Look at its growth over the last year. It came out in March of 18. But I think it was just recently listed on some of the apps that allow you to trade it. It's been on TD Ameritrade for a while, but and then there's some others before I move on to crypto. ARKW, which is the next generation internet ETF. I don't know what companies are comprised of this ETF, to be honest, but this is one to watch out for. Also, it had its heyday in November. It's on its pullback, just like crypto is. It's on that same path. Watch out for this one, because I think now that it's a drop below this liquidity line here, drop below that, and it looks like looked like it faked some people out thinking it was going to be pulling up. I think it might drop a little bit more, get underneath these equal lows right here. It actually it was one of those ones that had a big pull up at the end of the day too, like Argo blockchain did. I forgot what the other one was that did, the miners anyway. So I would expect it to pull back down into here, maybe get down hopefully to the $100 range, and then boom, turn around and go back up. I got into this right around, it was probably right around in here. It was probably around 120. I haven't lost too much money off of it, to be honest. But I own at least one of every Argo or ARK ETF, just because I think they're all great. Even the innovation one, which is I think ARK K, a little bit cheaper, but boom, just again same kind of motion. Again, had its heyday, and at least it had that high in November. Been pulling down just like crypto, and I think it's getting below those areas that it wants to get below. Here's some equal lows, just like the ARKW or ARKW had. I would say watch for that. See if it gets down into there. Once it does, see if it's going to pick up, because I can almost probably guarantee you that is going to be discount array. Yep. So here's the discount array here. If I were to actually pull it fully down, it's right at the discount array. Wow, the 61.8. So watch out for ARK on that one. All right, so now we're gonna get into before I get into the crypto, actually, what I wanted to do was talk about the graphics cards and what they're made out of, right? Because now we're talking about commodities, right? And if we're talking about commodities, and people are asking, well, we need to take a look at what the commodities prices are to see if these graphics cards are going to eventually end up being more expensive or less expensive. Because if they're going to end up being more expensive, then that's going to be more overhead on the crypto miners companies. More overhead on the crypto mining companies means it's going to eat into their pockets, eat into their profits a little bit more. It means doesn't mean they're not going to produce as much, no. But it could affect their stocks, their stock prices, which could undoubtedly affect crypto, because it could give the perception to the public eye, hey, they're not doing as well. So therefore, I'm not for sure if I want to invest in the crypto, because the mining companies aren't doing as well. But you need to look instead at the raw materials of what the graphics cards are made out of, and then determine that as well. So here we do have a list of what these things are made out of. First one, aluminum. All right, so I left you on a little bit of a hanger there, because next one's going to be a long one, and I just want to warn you, this was kind of a short one. The next one's going to be a really long one, because we take a really deep dive into every single metal that goes into the graphics cards, and we make a kind of prediction of where it's going to be in about 3-4 months on these metals. I'll give you a hint. If you go to barchart.com and look up the metals, look up the futures, look up when the contracts are, that's basically what we take a look at in the next video. But this one, I just wanted to go over the miners, see how closely related they were to crypto. And as you can see, they're very closely related.
even though I stacked, the Bitcoin or Ethereum over some of them. I could have got into more. I could have got into bit digital mining, or we could have gotten to, the ETF that Bitcoin just came out with, or the whatever it was. I could have gotten to some other ones like SOS, or I could have went even back and done some EBON or eBang. For the graphics cards. But, there's this way too much to get into, so I tried to keep it short as I could. But the next one is going to be long. I'm just going to let you know now it's going to be a long one, but it's going to be interesting because we're going to take a deep dive into the futures of all the metals that's going to be going into the graphics cards. So thank you for watching, and as always, remember to wear your pants.